Hello and welcome to Zerocarbonista Series 6, The Cow in the Room. I'm Ian Collins, and this is your number one go-to environment-based podcast. If it's green, it's in. And here's the thing, Dale. I think you're kind of breaking your own rules, really, because you set yourself a little target of doing, essentially, there's no other polite way to put this, doing all in November.
Yes.
And it's turned out that you've done quite a lot in November, including going to the High Court, essentially, or on your behalf going to the High Court.
Yes, I didn't go there personally. I have done some TV and radio today. Yeah, my idea of a off November off being the answer if I was asked to do something, but the polite version was November. Hasn't worked out completely, but it has worked out in other ways. You know, I mean, I've definitely done far less. I've turned a lot of things down. Today I was talking about our 100 mil plan for Gloucestershire, which I think we're going to come on to. And what Keir Starmer's been saying at COP and what other people have been saying at COP, which I think we're going to come on to. I just couldn't resist those two topics.
Yeah. Now, what's the High Court stuff then? What's been going on? You've got a parking ticket again. What's happened?
Yeah. I mean, it's all part of that like Hamas Gate thing, you know, that blew up, I don't know, 6 months ago when Guido Fawkes dredged up a 12-month-old interview, clipped it to misrepresent it, added a few words to misrepresent it. And it was picked up by all kinds of like, I don't know, I'm just going to call them fools on the right-wing side of life. I think it was 3 Tory MPs, Richard Tice, a Lord, GB News and the Daily Mail. I've been suing them all and beaten them all. I think there's 3 left standing. Three have decided to defend the indefensible, the way I see it. And that's Richard Tice, this Lord Bailey, who says he can't apologize because he's a Christian. I think he's never read the Bible, if that's what he thinks.
Really?
Apparently, and the man himself who started it all, really, Guido Fawkes, who yesterday abdicated. I don't know if you noticed, but he stood down as publisher, and you've got to wonder because we're suing him personally as the publisher. You have to wonder: is he standing down to avoid a repeat? This is the first time he's defended himself in court.
Wow,
he's doing it over his own dead body in many ways because he said he wouldn't. But we're bringing a fairly novel approach to this because he's had orders against him before that say you've got to take stuff down, and he ignores it because his servers are in the US and he's based in Ireland. We're taking an approach that the Premier League uses so that if and when we win in court and the judge makes the order, his internet service provider will be obliged to take down the offending pages, and that takes it out of his hands. I think that's why he's defending it. I also think it might be why he's resigned as publisher.
Wow.
You know, bit of a...
That's an interesting twist.
It's a bit of fun.
We will watch with interest. Let's talk COP29. It's interesting. Was a bit of criticism that some of the big leaders around the world are not there when they probably should be, considering the enormity of what this is. The French didn't show up. The Indians didn't show up. The Chinese didn't show up. The Americans didn't show up.
Sorry, it's quicker to list who did show up.
Well, Keir Starmer showed up by all accounts, and that's it.
He's one of 2 leaders from the G20, the top 20 nations of the world.
They sat there like 2 people in a community centre who turned up for a lecture on Cornish pottery, and no one else was in the room but them.
Or a blind date or something.
Maybe it was a blind date. Yeah, could be. What did you make of what's been said and talked about, Dale?
Well, look, the president of COP, he said, first of all, Azerbaijan is not a petrostate. Which is a stupid thing to say. 50% of their economy comes from oil and gas. But he says, but we're only 1% of the world's oil and gas. We can't be a petrostate. That's to entirely misunderstand the definition of that word. He said that oil and gas are a gift from God. That's to entirely understand science, right? Oil and gas come from God.
Why did he have to say that, by the way? I mean, of all the things you might think, well, even if you think it, maybe this isn't the place to say it.
He was basically complaining that the rest of the world is criticizing his own country unfairly for using oil and gas, which is a natural resource and obviously not from God. But basically, it was quite an aggressive opening speech, and I got to say, I think the UN have made a mistake now twice in a row because the previous COP was at another petrostate, and they do this in order to, and I understand the theory, in order to involve the villains, let's call them, the oil and gas producing countries and companies in COP as far as possible. But I think it's backfired because for 2 COPs in a row now, we've had hostile presidents of COP. And this is the most important issue in the world. And I don't know why 18 of the G20 leaders didn't go. But you got to wonder whether that's not linked. And it's not
Yeah.
very helpful.
That is kind of strange. But Starmer was, I mean, he was quite open and some would say ahead of the game, talking about cutting emissions. He mentioned this 81% target, which, I think is the kind of language people want to hear. Was he on the right track?
I think the 81% target is brilliant. It's an NDC or nationally declared commitment. It's ahead of the rest of the world. It's exactly the kind of leadership that we should be giving. He said he was going to do that without telling people how to live their lives, which is quite interesting. He claims that we can get there just by greening up the power grid by 2030 is the target for that. And the 81% is by 2035. Now, I think I understand why he said that. He doesn't want to appear to be telling people that they have to fly less and eat less meat. I think they're the two examples that he quoted. But the facts are we cannot get this 81% cut only by greening up the power grid. Now, our diets are changing. The consumption of red meat in our country is changing. And what he's saying is he's not going to tell people to change faster or change more. But I think a responsible government would wade into this debate and say, actually, red meat's bad for you. Bacon is on the same World Health Organization list of carcinogens as tobacco. They're both grade 1 carcinogens. And it would be right to put health warnings on bacon. Not as bad as we have with tobacco, but I think there's a decent argument to say do it. Stick it behind a roller shutter door, stick pictures of diseased organs on a packet of bacon and say, that's what you're getting, mate. But he doesn't need to go that far. He could just be more responsible and say to people, actually, you should eat less meat. When it comes to flying, I think that it's an overrated issue in climate circles. It's about 5% of global emissions. And what's really important is we don't let it grow. We don't have to shrink it massively because it can't do a lot anyway for us. But ultimately, it's energy, transport, and food. And what he's saying is we can get there if we only do the electricity part of energy. That's not true. We've still got to heat our homes in a zero carbon fashion. That brings us back into the heat pump versus green gas debate. And they shouldn't be versus, they should be working together. That's my view. So all in all, I'd say great target. I think he's wrong about how we hit it.
Julie says public awareness of the size of the cow in the room appears to be near zero. People don't seem to be aware that they could have a huge impact on climate change overnight just by eating stuff differently. Fair point.
Or eating different stuff, actually.
You can eat it differently if you want, but
that won't solve the problem. I agree. The cow in the room is underestimated. I think this is what we saw from Keir Starmer at COP this week, actually. The government itself has a cow in the room. It's got a blind spot. It's in denial. It thinks it doesn't have to do anything about food. It really does. It should. A responsible government would advise us better. We need to understand better. We need more people to understand that a simple change in what we eat is the biggest single change we can make to the climate crisis, the nature crisis, and the human health crisis, our own health. It's a big deal, and it's our new mission to make sure as many as people understand this. I mean, I began nearly 20 years ago with a focus on energy, transport, and food as the three big issues that we have to tackle. 80% of our emissions, etc. Energy is in hand. Transport is underway. Food is the last one standing. It's the big issue. It's the cow in the room. So we'll carry on.
Here's one, Dale. Trump victory raises risk of investing in offshore wind projects, according to the RWE. What's this all about?
RWE, that's a massive German energy company. I think what they're talking about is investing in offshore wind in America looks dodgy, not the rest of the world, not Britain, for example, and that kind of stuff. So, I mean, I don't think it's a big deal, but it's part of a story of concern that's going around the world that Trump getting elected is going to have a major adverse impact on our efforts to get to net zero. I don't believe that it will, for a number of reasons. I think that the green economy is like a tidal wave that Trump can't hold back. Even if he does make like King Canute and sit on the beach in his throne and try to do that, it's an economic reality that he can't defeat. And if he tries, America will fall behind China and fall behind the EU and the rest of the world that are benefiting from investment in renewable energy now. And on top of that, Republican states like Texas have felt the great benefit of Biden's IRA Act and investment in solar projects. They won't let him do a U-turn on this anyway. So I think for all his rhetoric about drilling and stuff like that, I don't think Trump is the threat that a lot of people think that he is for the green agenda.
There we go. Well, that'll be good news for many. Here's a question that comes in from Matt. I'm leaving X as it's become a hell site. Have you considered a move onto Blue Sky yet, Dale? There's a few people that have left X. I think The Guardian have left X because of Elon Musk, and a bridge left X today, the Clifton Suspension Bridge, apparently, which had an account and doesn't anymore. I apologise if I've libelled the wrong bridge.
Did it have a big following?
Yeah, I think it had a reasonable following. I don't know who the hell follows a freaking bridge, but there you go.
That's just weird. But yeah, look, the answer, Matt, is yes. We are considering it. But it's not like top of my agenda. I don't spend a lot of time on X. We post stuff, but I don't spend a lot of time reading what the crazies on X might be saying. So I'm slightly immune to it in that respect. Though we have our own X-rated corner, and we probably are trawling some of these comments.
I was going to say, it is supplying us with a bit of material here, Dale, which is quite good. Here's a story, Dale. Top Labour donor takes flight with £20 million EcoJet fundraising. So this is more exciting news over EcoJet, yeah?
Kind of. I mean, we bumped into like some buffers, the CAA, not old buffers, but
yes.
train type buffers. The CAA want us to like lodge a load of money, and I think we originally thought we needed to raise £8 million to get in the sky. It's not now; it's 20 million. We've done everything else, and the technology is being CAA approved right now. The planes are available. We've got the software for the ticketing system, all that kind of stuff. We've even got staff. We've designed uniforms, done training. We've done everything. If we can raise 20 million quid, we can get it in the skies and see what happens. That's the gist of the story.
Let's talk about windmills. 100 windmills to power Gloucestershire with 100% green electricity. Is that really possible?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We did this study 10 years ago when Jezza was still the leader of the Labour Party. And it's a lovely idea. We did a desktop study with computer software, the way that we normally do it. We looked at the whole county, and we first calculated how many windmills it would take to power all of the homes in the county. And then we said, where can we put them all? Turns out it's 100 windmills, which is a lovely round number. And we found all the places in the county where they would fit. The county can easily take 100 windmills, and we can easily make all of the power that all of the homes in Gloucestershire need. It's nearly 750,000 people. But the magic of this proposal, I think, is the further element, which is public ownership. We are saying that these 100 windmills should be owned by the county council and the district council, so that all of the benefits, all of the money from these projects should go to local people via local authorities and their budgets. It's about £7 million a year. And I've just been doing some TV about it, actually.
Yeah.
And
that's huge.
Yeah, it is, because also it's replicable. It's like a blueprint, right? So right now, our government have a plan to get to 100% green electricity by 2030, and they want public ownership of as much as possible of what we need to build next. This is a way to deliver that at a regional level. It's a way to give, it's a way to ease the planning of renewable energy as well, because all local people will be benefiting from these projects. It's not some big national energy company or whatever it is. I think it ticks all the boxes. It's a blueprint for Labour and for GB Energy to assist the delivery of the 2030 target and the public ownership target, and do it in a replicable way up and down the country. Cool. Something like that. I got bored talking about it now.
Well, let's talk about the vegan veterinary nurse then. You won't get bored of talking about this, who hid a turkey in her flat.
It's a lovely
She's
story.
avoided being struck. What's the story here? It involves a woman called Shakira Miles. I know that much. What did she do wrong?
I think it's part of a series of actions. I think it might have been Animal Rising. And they told me actually they were going to go and try and rescue some turkeys, unless they haven't done that yet. But it's got to be linked to Christmas because it's turkeys, isn't it? My favorite time of the year. And it basically is, she rescued not just turkeys. I think they also rescued some pigs as well from hideous conditions of factory farming. And as a veterinary nurse, she said that she thought they would die in these despicable conditions if she didn't rescue them. It wasn't theft; it was a humane rescue, and she did avoid getting struck off. In the tribunal, they did refuse to accept her argument that ethical veganism was a protected trait under employment law, and she couldn't be prosecuted or found guilty or whatever for having tried to protect animals. They rejected that, but they didn't strike her off, which I think is decent.
I actually thought when I read this headline that she kept a frozen turkey in her flat.
Everybody does that.
And I thought the story was, hang on, a vegan has been caught trying to eat turkey, but she's avoided being struck off.
I,
But actually, what she was trying to do is save some animals.
I think you're just having one of them days, Ian.
I think so. I
When
can't read headlines.
Yeah.
This comes. So let's do some. Should we do some X-rated corner?
I think we need to actually because
Polemic. Yes, we need this.
it won't matter when we don't make sense. It won't matter.
Polemic Gold says Vince, beaches in Nantucket are routinely closed to pick up sharp shards of disintegrated windmill blades. These blades are as long as a football field. Many are constructed from oil-based chemicals. What you say about that, Dale?
Well, I fundamentally
Very angry man.
I fundamentally struggle to believe it. Actually, that it's shards from windmill blades. How are they getting there? Nobody dumps these blades in the sea. So how are they getting to this beach? I don't understand it. But look, there's a real issue with fiberglass blades and how they're recycled, how they're dealt with at the end of life. But at the same time, it's less than 10% of all glass fiber made in the world today. So why are we obsessed about windmill blades when there's 9, nearly 10 times more glass fiber in the world being used in all kinds of things, and nobody ever talks about how are we going to recycle these things, right? So I think that's a bit odd. I'm just going to say that and shut up.
There it is. Sir Keir Starmer says, sorry, Dale, you can't virtue signal for wildlife while systematically destroying its habitat and killing hundreds of birds with your green energy production. We all know you don't actually give a...
Sounds like a turkey fart.
We're now doing our own sound effects.
Yeah, it's pretty good. But look, it doesn't make any sense to say this. I don't destroy wildlife habitat. I think he's probably referring to windmills, that are always accused of killing birds and stuff like that. Overlooks the 30 million birds a year that cats kill in our country, and traffic and tall buildings and all that kind of stuff. And properly sited windmills don't kill birds. The RSPBA, our supporters, have probably sited windmills. We've even built a windmill at the headquarters in Bedfordshire, which is a nature reserve, and it's not killing wildlife. So I'm just going to say that.
Which is good, because that's generally the idea. I'm sure Sir Keir Starmer will be happy with that result. Joseph Jack says, crowdfunding for this, crowdfunding for that. Have your subsidies run out, Dale?
I just want to bring it back. Sorry, previous one. I want to bring it back to the cow in the room. The real killer of wildlife is our food choice. Well, I'm confused about this. I mean, firstly, like this allegation of subsidies comes up all of the time, and it's nonsense, right? I've not had any subsidies. Ecotricity has not had any subsidies, and only just recently, Times Radio, I think it was Times Radio, ran a correction on this very point. Right, there are no subsidies. Have been no subsidies. That part's nonsense. But crowdfunding, I'm not sure.
What are you crowdfunding? Are you crowdfunding anything?
That's what I want to know. I mean, there have been some crowdfunders that we've joined in and donated money to and match funded and stuff like that. But that's not he's launching a crowdfunder. Guido Fawkes launched a crowdfunder using my name last week. Bless him. But I haven't launched any.
Maybe Joseph Jack read that story and got it all arse about face and thinks that you're the one that did the crowdfunder.
Yes, maybe he's got your affliction today, which is he can't read the headline and make sense of it.
I think Joseph Jack is a dick. That's my conclusion of this, Dale. I think he misread something. And I'm not going to criticize him for that after today.
Not today.
Yeah, I think so. That is it, Dale, for this episode. We should mention, by the way, we're going to Liverpool, aren't we, in a week or so? Saturday the 30th.
The 13th.
30th.
Oh, yeah, good.
Yeah, I think 13th was yesterday. So. Yeah. That's Saturday, 30th November, Expedition 1 at the Exhibition Centre in Liverpool. We're helping mark Liverpool being declared the first ever UN accelerator city for climate action. Massive Attack playing on the Friday night. Nile Rodgers playing on Saturday night. Great weekend of events, and we're live on stage at 11:30 in the morning. And the BBC are there as well. But we are recording an episode of this at 11:30 on the Saturday morning, right?
Yeah, it'll be our only second live venue outside of WOMAD, wouldn't it?
Yes. It's like we're building up. We're going to be like Coldplay soon, your favourite band.
That'd be funny. Well, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, the Act 1.5 thing in Liverpool is like seriously good. And, Massive Attack delivered that gig on the Downs in the summer that we took our Grid Ferries batteries to.
Yep.
That first gig delivered under the kind of I don't know what the guidelines of Act 1.5 or something like that. It was all plant-based food, no
I think
diesel.
so,
There's all that kind of stuff, And Liverpool have embraced it as a citywide kind of thing for
which
their
is
own.
amazing.
It was just brilliant. So I'm kind of I'm happy to be a part of that.
Tickets are free if you go to cultureliverpool.co.uk/expedition-1. That's it, Dale. We will speak more fluently, or I will at least, in a week.
I'm so glad it's over.
Don't forget to follow Dale on social media, facebook.com/DaleVince, twitter.com/DaleVince, and if I'm not mistaken, Dale, on TikTok too.